What's going on, guys? Alex Tex Kate, and today we're going to talk about how to choose your first competition pistol. Now, before you do anything at all, you need to define your goals. And what I mean by that is figure out what competition style you are trying to partake in, whether that be USPSA, IDPA, Steel Challenger, Speed Steel, 2-gun, 3-gun, police pistol combat, bullseye, some of the Olympic sports. There is so many different shooting disciplines out there. Figure out which one that you want to dabble in, or at least which one you'd want to start in. Secondly, you need to define what your budget is realistically. Now, don't just look at that budget as in your max budget for the total amount you can spend on one firearm to do this. No. We will get into what that budget needs to include, but you need to be able to define what realistic budget is going to work for you to get into shooting sports. One mistake I see a lot of guys make is they spend too much money early on and they almost spend their way out of having fun when they haven't even gotten started yet. So with that, part of what I'm going to go over with you guys today is kind of how not to make those mistakes and really what to make sure you put your money into getting into competitive shooting. Lastly, before doing anything else, you need to really evaluate your current experience with firearms. Just because you play a lot of Call of Duty or you've played a lot of airsoft or otherwise does not translate directly to live fire firearms. So make sure that you are competent enough to be doing this. If you have not taken any type of class at all to get any sort of formal training on firearms, I highly recommend you at least take one class prior to getting into this, but it's not absolutely necessary. And as long as you can very confidently and in the confidence of those around you, carry yourself in a safe manner and be able to follow all proper range safety protocol, you'll be okay. But let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit. We're going to go over a little bit of pistol types here. We can get really in-depth with this, but I'm going to kind of level the playing field here and talk about just a handful of things that I find to be the most important. Those things being, understand the difference between single stack and double stack magazines. In very simple terms, your single stack is going to be your standard 1911 45 magazine. It is one round on top of each other versus a double stack in which most firearms are nowadays, especially 9mm, where the bullets are staggered. Also, being able to identify the difference of a polymer versus a all steel pistol. So like what I have here is going to be something more standard. You're going to have a polymer frame and a steel slide. That's kind of the basis even of a Glock, a Walther Sig, any of them. So that's what we're going to consider a polymer gun. The frame is polymer versus something like my DWX here, which is a completely metal frame, completely metal slide. So the big difference that you're going to notice there between those two types of pistol is going to be weight. Heavier weight, less felt interpreted recoil, lighter weight, more snappy recoil. But not to get deep into that, but the amount of recoil does not directly correlate to your ability to shoot or your ability to return sights on target or follow up two shots accurately. It's just a preference thing. Now, but what that will come with, and which is why I even went to metal guns, is it comes down to durability aspects. So figure how much shooting you want to be doing. Yes, most of your polymer guns will really hold up to it, but this SIG I stopped shooting because it blew up in my face. I have never had a metal gun blow up in my face, but at the same time, I still have other polymer guns like my Walther PDP that I do still shoot. So just because it happened with one does not mean that I have completely stopped using them, but that is something to consider if it's something that concerns you. Lastly is going to be understanding your different calibers, which I'd be honest with you, I hope you already understand if you're trying to get into this. If not, there's a lot of good information out there on the good old internet for you to figure out. But before any of that, I would say go to your public range, do a pistol rental, and shoot a 9, 40, 45, and just get that actual mental response of the differences between them all, because it is significant. Felt recoil is going to be different. which is why in most competitive leagues, 40 cal and larger is extra points or major power factor. So now that we have gone over kind of the basics of the things that you want to understand before getting to this point, let's talk about some of the particular features that I look for when it comes to a competitive pistol. Now, I have used plenty that I didn't like to get to where I'm at today. So what I'm here to do is in an attempt to kind of help guide you guys along the way or prior to making the same mistakes that I made. So the first thing that I want you guys to look at when you're picking a platform is going to be your overall grip ergonomics. How it feels in your hands above anything else. Nothing matters more. As an instructor and a longtime competitor, that is the one thing that every student I've ever had or any other new shooter has ever collectively agreed upon after a little bit of time in the game, is having that pistol that feels just right every time you grab it is a game changer like no other. So your ergonomics are going to be the first thing that I want you guys to make sure is right. And just because one firearm has ergonomics that fit me does not mean that it fits you. So that is something that's going to be a lot more of a preference nature. You're going to go ahead and need to do your due diligence of research yourself to figure out what feels right. I like to influence the blindfold test, which is eyes shut, blindfold on, have someone put 3 different types of firearm in your hand. Maybe it's a PDP, maybe it's a SIG, and maybe it's a Shadow 2, which are 3 completely different grips entirely. So the ergonomics in those 3 are unrelated entirely, outside of the fact that it is a pistol grip of a sort and it's meant to shoot a bullet. So grip size, texture, comfort, and feel is kind of what I'll wrap that up into. That's going to be first and foremost above anything else. Secondly, determine what sights you are looking to shoot. That's also going to be a division related thing, but essentially figure out if you're trying to shoot iron sights or red dot. You can get a little bit deeper past into that, but this video is for newer shooters, newer competition shooters. I'm not going to get into the open division stuff because that is a whole other ball game of possibilities. So we're going to keep it simply at red dot and iron sights. Now, I've done other videos and I did talk about what types of optics to avoid and which ones to kind of steer towards. So I will keep the sight short and I'll leave it at this. I use Trijicons and Holosuns. Vortex Defender XL, also phenomenal. Swamp Fox, I didn't have any issues with when I used. There's some great optics out there. Just make sure whatever optic you're going to use has nothing to do with the cool factor, has nothing to do with what your buddy said was going to be the way to go. No. Do your research. The only thing that I want to make sure that I really point out when it comes to iron sights is, guys, do not get these flimsy, worthless iron sights that have no front post outside of a piece of metal sticking out. You are going to need to be able to acquire your front post sight as soon as possible. So when it comes to choosing iron sights, you guys want to choose something more like this that is going to have a really nice bright fiber optic for you to acquire. And at least myself, per my preference, I don't like having dots or color on my rear sights as it takes my eyes away from the center focus that I'm trying to keep my eyes on. So these things do matter. Your sights is how you tell your gun where you want the bullet to go. So don't cheap out on your sights, if anything at all. Lastly, the thing that I really want to point out here that is going to matter, because past your sights, once your sights are on, you have to do what? Pull the trigger. So just in collection of this chapter here, you have your ergonomics and grip, which is how you're going to purchase it. Your purchase is going to be directly reliant to that sight picture, and your sight picture being where you need it to be is going to be completely reliant to that trigger pull. Now to follow that up, same thing. Reset. So trigger does matter. Where people get mixed up with that statement is they think the lightest trigger on the planet is what matters the most. No. I have seen multiple guys get DQ'd coming out with some overly built Glock with some 1.5 pound trigger. Now, yes, my Shadow 2's trigger is just shy of 2 pounds. My DWX is just over 2 pounds. But I also have nearing 100,000 rounds on these triggers, to where I have put in a lot of time to be able to get them down that light. And I did not run them that light for tens of thousands of rounds. So when we talk about what matters in a trigger pull, is going to be that initial take up, and it being something that does not disrupt your sights, disrupt your grip, or disrupt you in any way, shape, or form. To where when you pull that trigger, it is not so heavy that the gun is jerking off to the side, but rather a nice, clean, crisp break, to where when the reset happens, you can very, very easily let off, no disruption. There's the reset. Pull it again. The point to a good trigger is simply that you are able to pull it repetitively, reset it repetitively in a way in which it does not disrupt the accuracy of the firearm, your grip on the firearm, or your sights in general. So these things do matter. But to sum that up, a good grip that fits your hands, sights that you can acquire quickly, and a trigger that is smooth and crisp enough to where it does not disrupt the gun as you are trying to shoot. So let's go over a couple of the top rated and most used pistols that I see guys start with in competition. And we're going to go over a couple of real good budget starter guns that I know some of the top guys still shoot today. So just because they're budget does not make them any less valuable than the next thing. I'll go over kind of where I'm at, which is somewhere in the middle, and then also give you a recommendation on if you are one of those people, money is not an object, and you're ready to buy once, cry once, you're going to want to get two, and, just send it 2011 style. So, budget, the M&P 2.0. There is a large amount of aftermarket support for those firearms. You can get them for anywhere from $400 to $700, depending on which one you want to get. Whether you get it used, you can get them from old police departments. The M&P 2.0s I have shot, I got a review right here if you're interested in them. I was taken back with how nice they were for their price point. One of my best friends that I travel all over the country shooting with uses them regularly, who you will see in that video. Secondly to that is going to be your Canic Rival. I know so many guys shooting the Canic Rivals out there, and I really don't see any of them having issues. I've maybe seen one or two guys, and I am very, very, very much so a believer in both of those people. It was a lack of maintenance ordeal. Issues can happen with any firearm, but for the $600 price range, the Canic Rival or the M&P 2.0 are solid choices to start with. And even past that, I'll give you one more because I use one. My $600 choice was a Walther PDP. Now I run the full size. It is my IDPA gun of choice, although I am going to get it ported in the top, do a little bit more with it. But again, in that lower price point range, another phenomenal choice. Moving up a little bit, getting into that $1,000, $1,200 price range, you end up into your steel frame versions of your polymer pistols, kind of like your SIG 320. Now, this isn't a steel frame, it's a tungsten grip, but you can get into your SIG Legions for about $1,000. There's a lot of aftermarket support on those as well. Even my sponsors, Lot Grips, make a lot of different grips for the AXG, SXG panels. They now make this fully custom adjustable thumb rest that comes on these. But that's that next level where guys have either had that extra little bit of cash to kind of buy a little bit more up than the starter base model of the gun, but guys are getting it done with the $600 model just the same. But if you're looking for a little more weight and balance, up in the $1,000 range, you got your Canic Rival steel frame, your SIG 320 or X Legions. There is, again, a lot out there for those. Moving up again another level, which is kind of where I'm at. You're looking at the $1,500 base range to $2,000 base range, and that's going to be your Beretta 92s, M9s, or your CZ75s like my Shadow 2 here, getting all the way up into the $2,000 range, which is where you'll find things like your Dan Wesson DWX, your CZ Tac Sports, and so on. And as you get higher up in the value of guns, you will notice there's a lot more customability on them. And that's not across the board by any means, but you can kind of tell the ones that have the extra bling on them and they were a little more expensive. But when you get into the more expensive guns, sometimes it comes with more modularity. That can also come up more problems at times too, just the same. I know someone's going to say it, so I'm saying it ahead of time. And then past all that, you can get into the 2011 game, which you're starting at $2,500 for a Staccato. I highly recommend Masterpiece Arms or Voodoo Gunworks. They are just in between the $3,000 and $4,000 range. The Voodoo Priest is one of the best 2011s I've ever had my hands on. MPA, Masterpiece Arms, DS9, equally as incredible. That is where I would send you guys if you're looking to buy once, cry once. Now, I'll be honest, I kind of buy once, cry once with my Shadows, and I'm still extremely happy with them. That's why I have not gone to 2011s yet, but I'll leave that decision up to you guys. If you guys would like to see another video on more customization of your particular firearm of choice, you guys let me know. Please feel free to like, comment, and share. No, please. I encourage it. And please do not forget to hit that subscribe button down in the corner there. I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Alex Tex Kate signing off.